Darts has always walked a fine line between pub chaos and professional sport. Fans love the noise, the chants, the carnival atmosphere. But what happens when that energy turns toxic? Imagine standing on stage, thousands watching, the weight of the match pressing down on you, and suddenly a pint glass comes flying straight at your feet. Or picture reaching out for a simple handshake before the deciding leg, only to be snubbed on live television. These aren't one-off accidents. These are the moments when respect collapses and darts becomes pure hostility. Tonight, we're diving into the stories behind the most brutal, 0% sportsmanship moments ever caught on camera. It was Premier League Darts 2025, Brighton, one of the most electric stops on the tour. The crowd is famous for being passionate, but this night, passion went too far. Nathan Aspinall was minutes away from throwing his first dart when the unthinkable happened.
Just before that final started, we saw Nathan talking to Hugh. Was anything thrown on the stage? It looked like there was something on the stage that he sort of picked up and threw away.
I think it was a pint through.
Oh, what, from the 9-darter?
No, at Nathan.
Oh, at Nathan?
As soon as he came on the stage.
From the upper stands, a full pint sailed through the air, crashing onto the stage and splashing across the oki. The liquid spread across the floor where Aspinall was supposed to plant his feet. Security guards sprinted into action. The referee froze, unsure whether to halt the match. Commentators went silent, one of them whispering, "Did that really just happen?" For Aspinall, it wasn't just about mopping up the mess. He later admitted that the mental shock nearly ruined him before the match began. In darts, rhythm is everything. One break, one distraction can destroy the flow you've trained months for. And this wasn't just a break, it was an act of pure disrespect. A reminder that sometimes the biggest enemy isn't the opponent on stage, but the crowd itself. The fallout was massive. Clips spread online within hours. Fans debated whether alcohol should even be allowed inside venues. And yet, as shocking as a flying pint was, worse was waiting just around the corner. And this time, the disrespect came from one player to another. Fast forward a few weeks to Rydz, Germany, at the International Darts Open. The stakes were sky high. James Wade, a veteran with decades of experience, stood toe-to-toe with Cameron Menzies, the fiery Scot who had been fighting tooth and nail all night. The scoreboard read 5-5, one leg remained to decide it all. As tradition dictates, Menzies reached out his hand before the final leg. It wasn't about friendship, it was about respect. A way of saying, whatever happens next, let's finish this like professionals. But Wade, he didn't even blink. He walked straight back to the board, ignoring the hand hanging in the air. The arena gasped. Commentators scrambled to explain what they'd just seen. On social media, fans erupted, accusing Wade of crossing the line. For Menzies, the snub was brutal. Left standing there, his hand hanging mid-air, he had no choice but to lower it quietly and get on with the match. No words, no acknowledgement, just silence. And in darts, silence can cut deeper than anything else. Some fans defended Wade, claiming it was just mind games. Others argued it showed a total lack of class from a player who should know better. Either way, the moment stole the spotlight. It didn't matter who won the leg. The only thing fans remembered was the handshake that never happened. And if that felt cold, what happened next proved that disrespect doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It was supposed to be just another match at the Players' Championship in 2025. Nathan Rafferty had fought hard, but in the end, defeat was inevitable. As his opponent walked ahead to celebrate, the cameras lingered on Rafferty. That's when it happened. Behind his opponent's back, Rafferty raised his hand and flicked a middle finger. Quick, sharp. Maybe he thought the cameras wouldn't catch it. Maybe he thought fans wouldn't notice. But they did. Within hours, the clip was circulating online. Fans paused, rewound, zoomed in. Some laughed at the pettiness, others were furious. A few defended him, saying, "We've all been there." Emotions get the better of you, but the damage was done. What should have been remembered as a hard-fought battle was now remembered for a 2-second act of bitterness. And that's the cruel thing about darts. You can throw perfect 180s all night, but one tiny moment of disrespect is what people remember. For Rafferty, that single flick of the finger said more than his darts ever could. But as we'll see, when tempers boil over in darts, the crowd isn't just a distraction. Sometimes it becomes the villain itself. If you thought the pint throwing incident was bad, the crowd at Premier League Darts 2025 made sure things didn't calm down. Week after week, players walked into arenas knowing they weren't just facing their opponents, they were facing thousands of fans determined to throw them off. The worst came in Glasgow, a city famous for its atmosphere. The whistling was relentless. Every time Gerwyn Price stepped up to throw, the noise swelled like a wave, drowning out his focus.
More like it than Price.
There was the reaction. There was the reaction. And actually supported by Luke Humphries and applauded.
Luke Humphries, then world number 1, wasn't spared either. And even Luke Littler, just 17 years old, had to deal with a wall of jeers and whistles that followed every dart.
The whistling situation.
Yeah.
First of all, does it affect you?
Yeah, it does affect you, especially if it's one or two people doing it. But it also, if it's going against, say, you're not experiencing yourself and it's for your opponent, it affects you as well because you kind of feel sorry for them having to deal with it. I kind of felt a little bit sorry for Graham Price in Glasgow when he was getting whistled quite a lot against me. So yeah, it kind of puts you out your rhythm. Kind of love to eradicate.
Referees tried to calm things down. At one point, they even warned the crowd directly, respect the players, let them throw. But the noise didn't stop. Commentators were embarrassed, fans online were divided, some calling it passion, others calling it sabotage.
Stop whistling!
And it wasn't just noise. The pint thrown at Nathan Aspinall earlier in the season showed how thin the line really was. Players spoke out, saying they'd never felt so disrespected in their careers. One fan on social media summed it up best: "This isn't atmosphere anymore. This is warfare. When the crowd becomes the villain, even the best darts can't shine." And that night in Glasgow, the sport itself took a hit. The 2024 World Darts Championship at London's Alexandra Palace was supposed to be a showcase of the game's biggest stars. But instead of a dazzling performance, the spotlight fell on a shocking act from a former world champion. Rob Cross had just lost a crucial match. Emotions were raw, frustration was boiling. As he walked off stage, cameras caught him turning toward his manager and making an obscene gesture. It was unmistakable, a gesture that stunned commentators and sent shockwaves across the sport. Fans couldn't believe it. This wasn't a rookie letting nerves get the better of him. This was a former world champion, a man who'd lifted the biggest trophy in darts, now caught in a moment of total disrespect. Cross later admitted it was a heat-of-the-moment mistake and offered an apology. But apologies don't erase the image. Clips spread online within minutes, replayed over and over as fans debated whether he deserved punishment. The Darts Regulation Authority reportedly looked into possible sanctions. The whole incident was a reminder: in darts, your composure is everything. Lose that even for a second and the world never forgets. It was 2024 at a PDC floor event when James Hurrell faced rising star Sebastian Bialecki. Hurrell started strong, racing to a 3-0 lead. Victory looked certain, but Bialecki dug deep, clawing back leg by leg until he completed a stunning comeback, winning 6-5. For Bialecki, it was a career-defining moment. For Hurrell, it was humiliation. And when the match ended, that frustration spilled out for everyone to see. As Bialecki offered his hand in respect, Hurrell ignored it completely. Instead, he shook the referee's hand, pointed angrily at Bialecki, and stormed off stage while muttering under his breath. The commentators condemned it, and fans online were furious. It wasn't just a lost match, it was a lost moment of dignity. Handshakes in darts aren't just tradition, they're a signal that the competition ends when the final dart lands. By rejecting that, Hurrell turned what should have been Bialecki's shining moment into a scene of bitterness. And once again, fans were left asking, is respect still part of this game, or has it become optional? It was October 2023, deep into a Players' Championship event, when Callan Rydz found himself locked in a high-pressure match. After battling for every leg, Rydz fell short. But instead of leaving gracefully, he delivered what fans quickly dubbed the saltiest handshake in darts history. As his opponent stepped forward, hand outstretched, Rydz barely made eye contact. He brushed the handshake with the coldest, most dismissive touch imaginable, then turned and walked off without a word. The cameras zoomed in just long enough for fans to catch the glare on his face. Social media exploded. Some called it childish, others said it was the kind of raw emotion that makes sport entertaining. Either way, the clip went viral. Rydz himself later admitted he was embarrassed, apologizing publicly and saying the moment got the better of him, but the damage was done. That icy, half-hearted handshake overshadowed every dart he'd thrown that day. At the UK Open 2025, all eyes were on a quarter-final showdown between Luke Humphries and James Wade. On paper, it was a clash of generations: Humphreys, the rising star, and Wade, the battle-hardened veteran. But what played out on stage was less a match and more a grudge. Even before the first dart, something strange happened. As players prepared to start, Wade leaned in and bizarrely licked Humphreys' neck. The crowd was stunned. Commentators laughed nervously, unsure how to explain it. Humphreys forced a smile, but the tension was obvious. By the end of the match, things had only gotten colder. There was no handshake, no fist bump, no show of respect. Instead, as Wade walked past, the two brushed shoulders, leaving Humphreys visibly irritated. He stormed off stage, shaking his head, while fans lit up Twitter with disbelief. What did we just watch? For Humphreys, it was a reminder that darts isn't always about the darts. For Wade, it was another chapter in a career filled with controversy. And for fans, it was proof that sometimes the biggest drama happens after the last dart is thrown. By 2025, the Dutch Darts Championship had already delivered plenty of drama, but when Richie Edhouse faced Kim Huybrechts, things went from tense to outright hostile. Edhouse missed several match darts, and the Dutch crowd pounced, whistling and jeering with every throw. Frustrated, Edhouse turned toward the audience, waving his arms and mouthing words they couldn't quite hear. Huybrechts, never one to back down, fired back, shaking his head and throwing gestures of his own. When Edhouse finally clinched the win, he extended his hand as a peace offering, but Huybrechts wasn't having it. He flat out refused, glaring as the two exchanged heated words in front of the cameras. Security and officials had to step in before it escalated further. The crowd loved the drama, but fans online were split. Some sided with Edhouse, saying he was unfairly targeted by the hostile whistles. Others backed Huybrechts, claiming Edhouse's taunts made him just as guilty. Either way, the match was remembered not for the darts, but for the confrontation that turned the stage into a standoff. The PDC World Darts Championship 2024 at Alexandra Palace was supposed to be Cameron Menzies' chance to shine. He'd already won hearts with his fearless style and emotional interviews, but when he faced American Leonard Gates in the second round, the pressure proved too much. Menzies lost 3-1, but the scoreline wasn't what fans remembered. In the final legs, cameras caught him visibly breaking down in tears. His shoulders slumped, his face buried in his hands, he struggled even to throw straight. Later, it came out that his father was seriously ill in hospital at the time, and the weight of personal struggles combined with the biggest stage in darts simply crushed him. The crowd tried to lift him, but the atmosphere felt heavy. Some fans sympathized, calling it one of the most human moments ever seen on stage. Others argued the match should have been stopped out of respect. It wasn't anger, it wasn't arrogance, but it showed how fragile the line is between professionalism and raw emotion. Even without insults or gestures, sportsmanship cracked under the weight of pressure. Fast forward to Amsterdam 2025 at the World Series of Darts final. Luke Littler, just 18 years old, was facing Dutch legend Michael van Gerwen on his home turf. The crowd was electric but bourgeois, but not for him. Every throw, every walk to the oki, he was met with jeers, boos, and mocking chants. Most young players would crumble. Littler didn't. Instead, he fought back, not just with darts, but with taunts of his own. He swirled his water bottle theatrically, took long pauses before throws, and even gestured toward the fans as if to say, "Keep it coming, I'm not bothered."
Circle that one as well. And the crowd will get involved now. And Littler doing the right thing, taking his time.
Well, I can assure you, it won't bother him. He'll just get on with it.
After the match, Littler admitted he'd done it deliberately. "I wanted to get under their skin." To some, it was pure confidence, the mark of a teenager already fearless under the spotlight. To others, it was a lack of respect, a deliberate escalation of an already hostile atmosphere. Either way, it was proof that Littler wasn't just another rookie. He could be the hero or the villain, depending on how the crowd treated him. Finally, in Rydz, Germany, 2025, Nathan Aspinall found himself in another storm, but this time it wasn't about flying pints. Facing Gerwin Price at the International Darts Open, Aspinall was 5-2 down. The crowd once again was relentless with whistling and jeering, hoping to see Price finish him off. But Aspinall dug deep. Leg by leg, he clawed his way back until he forced a decider. Against all odds, he sealed a 6-5 comeback win. The crowd should have admired the fight back, but instead, the whistles grew louder. That's when Aspinall snapped. He turned to the audience and made a throat-slashing gesture, a message that needed no translation. Then, in his post-match comments, he called the fans idiots for trying to ruin the game. Clips spread instantly online, sparking debate. Was it passion, or was it a step too far?
Is terrified, and Nathan Aspinall is in the quarterfinals.
For Aspinall, it was raw emotion spilling out after a miracle comeback. For the sport, it was another reminder of how thin the line is between atmosphere and outright hostility. From a pint flying through the air in